Hi, everyone. It's Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation, and the Why Do Pets Matter podcast. Boy, has it been a busy day. Busy, 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 but I would never miss this call for anything. We may have some thunderstorms come in, and if that happens, hopefully I won't lose internet. It's been on and off pretty much all day. Hi, Sally. Hi, Connie, and Susan and Rose. So good to see you guys. It's been a busy week. And how about with you? I'm going to check in, as we always do on the MAAP community call, to see how everyone's doing. So I'm going to start with the West Coast. How's everything out there in sunny California, Connie?
It is sunny. Pardon me, as you can see by my background. It's a little breezy, as you can see by my hoodie. We have gale warnings in the channel expected this evening. But we're doing well. I got my 2-year-old boy back to handling class this morning to get him back in the groove. We are entered in the Northern California Terrier Association Specialties / Kennel Club of Sacramento shows the beginning of July up north. So we are anticipating that. And we're also for the MAAP D mantra. We are starting wildfire season, so the winds are not a good omen.
You know, I really feel for you because things have been happening. There's floods in Tennessee, Alabama, so flash floods, and you really need to recognize that disasters are something you have to think about. But I'm so glad you're safe. Stay safe. Hey, Sally, how's everything with you and Athena?
Well, Athena is in my office with me because we are having large thunder noises, no storms, but I thought better than leave her in the house, I'll bring her out to the studio where it is absolutely freezing cold.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad because that's what I'm going to talk about tonight because of the 4th of July coming and the heat that we've had. Susan, how's everything with Maggie? You have to unmute yourself, though.
Yeah, sorry about that. Maggie is taking Soloquin. It was one of the products recommended by Kathy. And so I'm really looking forward to working with her because I've seen a little bit of progress, trying to get Maggie to a baseline so that she can be trained. We got a collar, a calming collar, and could not get it on her even after giving her trazodone. She bit Tom when we were trying to get the collar on. So, yeah, she's got just a very high level of reactivity that it's hard to even get to first base with. And yeah, we couldn't get the collar on. We still have not gotten it on. But
have you tried a muzzle? Have you tried a muzzle?
I don't think I could get a muzzle on her. That's the problem. You know, she's just really difficult. And I'd gotten the trazodone for her first grooming that we took her to. It took 3 hours for the groomer to get her groomed. It could have been more than 3 hours, but she didn't complain. The groomer did not say anything mean or nasty, but I'm just wondering because I know even with the trazodone, she's difficult to work with. So,
have you tried putting the muzzle on from behind her? You know, going forward over the muzzle and then clipping it in the back, because that way you can get it on her. That's the way the vets do it. That's the way those of us who know how to use a muzzle do it.
I can try.
Terriers are a little tough.
I'm sorry?
Terriers can be a little tough. So terrier owners all know that sometimes when you ask your dog to do something, they just have an opinion. And so you sometimes have to keep them safe and you safe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we love her to death. I think she's going to kill all of them.
So we'll have to work with Kathy on how to get her to let you put the collar on. I want to commend you for continuing to navigate this. I want to reiterate that COVID has created some personality issues in almost all of our dogs. I don't think there's a dog that's escaped a personality change because of COVID. I know that, I've spoken many times here about Roxy and her reactivity walking on a leash in the neighborhood when small dogs come by, especially ones like the Catan, a white one. She really doesn't like them at all. And when I leave her with other people, I remind them not to let her go near anyone. She absolutely loves her sister Athena. However, she doesn't necessarily love Junie, but she tolerates him. But other dogs, she definitely is reactive. And in fact, I was walking the other day and met someone and they said, when I saw you walking in like April and May and June, you would pull your dogs so close to you. I thought they were vicious. And of course, I created that moment in time for my dogs because of COVID. I wasn't sure if COVID could be transmitted from dog to dog,
Right.
and then from dog to human. And so I felt, well, I'm just going to stick clear and I'm just going to walk with them. And so I created reactivity in Roxy on her walks. And I can tell you, Junie has huge reactivity because of so many things in his life. So he went to field trialing, so that was different. He was here for COVID, living in a small life, going for walks. That was COVID. And now he sees all the boxes in our house because we're moving. So he is really fretful. And there are times when he will growl or he'll turn around, and that's not an Irish setter ever, but he will growl because he's uncertain. And I know he's uncertain, and I know that he's just looking around going, there are too many things changing here, and I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And so we have to really empathize with our dogs right now. The things are not the way they should be, were, and probably will never be the same again.
Right.
And in, of course, Connie's life, they were so in love with their grandmother and mother that, she's gone now. So that's a shift on top of everything else. So everybody has to adjust. So if your dog's having an issue, do what Susan's doing, find an animal behaviorist and work with them.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that Kathy can help me. So we're not going to meet until July because I said to her, let's try to get her, because it takes, I think she said 40 days for this Soliquin. I've seen some improvement, although not as much as I would like, but it takes a longer time for it to work. And hopefully we'll get to that point where.
Well, it's been 2 years she's been with you, right?
It'll be 2 years in October.
Right. So a year and a half. And one of those years was during COVID. So It's going to take her a while. I always say to my my clients who are in conflict, how long did it take you to get here? And they go, well, I've been mad at Connie for months. And I said, well, it's going to take you months to get over it. We'd like to think that we could fix this in a day. However, you've got to really.
No, I'm good with that. I understand that it will take time, and she can be the most loving and wonderful dog on the planet. But
yeah, that's Junie. Let me tell you, Junie could be the most loving, wonderful dog on the planet, and then Jim will move fast, or I'll move fast, and he'll growl. And we're like, we have never had a dog do that.
Yeah.
So clearly, there's something going on. I'm having him checked by the vet tomorrow, and we'll see if there's something physical going on. And if there isn't, then it's just
anxiety.
A COVID brain fart. So he's really interesting. So I'd love to chat today, if you guys are up for it, about the weather coming up and the holiday coming up. So it's not so close, July 4th, but it's coming. And there was a great article in Preventive Vet, which of course is our wonderful Kathy Madsen's group, who talks about what to do to prepare for the 4th of July. Some dogs are very reactive. I know Athena is, Roxy is. So we really work on making sure they're in a quiet place and secure, because you don't want them to run away if, God forbid, something happens. But recently here in New York and Connecticut, and I know, Susan, you lived north of New York, it's been beastly hot with huge humidity.
I'm actually in the DC area.
Oh, sorry. So
it wasn't as bad. It
is just as bad, though, right? Exactly.
and I have to tell you that, so we have patterns, right, with our dogs. So I walk my dog 3 times a day. I know that Sally walks her dog 3 times a day. I don't know if you walk Maggie or not, Susan, but I know, Connie, you probably walk your dogs. you have to recognize when this heat is so beastly, taking care of yourself first and then taking care of your pet is really key, so key. And so don't take them out in this kind of heat. It's one of those, D's. So you can have a disability because you have heat stroke, or you trip and fall because you're so hot, or the dogs can have heat stroke. So err on the side, which I did last night as Junie was bouncing off the walls, literally, not figuratively, and told him, I'm really sorry. I get it. You wanted to walk in the evening, but it was 82 degrees here at night and humid as all get out. And I'll raise my hand. I'm moving to North Carolina, and the humidity there will be even worse than here. And I don't like humidity. So Junie's going to be walked a lot less, I can tell you that, in North Carolina. But you really have to take care of yourself. And I say that because I had a client call who took her dog for a walk. She wasn't feeling well. She dropped the leash, and somebody came around the corner with a young dog, and her dog ran across the street to see the dog on a leash, though. And it's a big kerfluffle now in the town courts because the other person decided to, swear out complaints against the dog owner. So you really do, if you're not feeling up to walking, if it's something, if you are not feeling well, it's too hot and you're not going to feel well, either take a very short walk or maybe skip it altogether, because things happen, and then a big kerfluffle happens. So this woman is going to court because of the fact that her dog did not bite. There was no gnashing of teeth. There was nothing. But the other woman is a new dog owner, was frightened, and so we're all suffering from COVID brain. Instead of being empathetic, decided to be very defensive and reactive. And so it's going to be a big issue that this woman's going to have to mediate or possibly litigate, because her dog now has 3 strikes against it. So you really do need to choose your battles. And the battle you want to choose first is, if it's hot and you're tired and you're not feeling well, don't walk your dog. I don't know how you guys feel, but it really has hit home with me that I really have to make sure I'm up to taking that walk with the dogs.
I'm now traveling, actually, for the first time ever, with a little pint container of water and a bowl. And every day when we drink at least half, not we, Athena drinks at least half of the bowl. And I'm surprised. This is new. And I've noticed a great increase in the amount of water she's drinking. But as you say, it's so hot and humid. And Roxy always drank a lot more water than Athena, but now I'd say Athena is drinking as much water as Roxy. It's so humid.
Yeah, it's terrible. And I know it's dry out by you, Connie, so your dogs drink a lot, but that heat, I have to say that, okay, dry heat is lovely. It's wonderful. However, it can knock the living bejesus out of you. I swear to God.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And we're not that dry here because I live 5-10 miles from the ocean. And so we get the marine layer in the morning and at night. So very often when we get up in the morning, it's clouded over. And today, for instance, we were mother-son dynamics, and we have been speaking of the baby
changes
just got
in
told.
temperament because Bam isn't there to hold the line for both of them.
That's exactly right. The matriarch is gone. Nobody messed with anybody when she was here, and since she has been gone, there have been interesting pack dynamics because, of course, Mom, Patsy, is 7 years old. But Casey is a 2-year-old adolescent intact boy and feeling his oats. And so he and Mom have been challenging each other for pack leadership. He's backing off, but Mom is making sure that he knows his place. So you just heard the changing pack dynamics in our house now. But at any rate, this morning it was very monsoonal here, as a matter of fact, and it's been very humid and my joints have been creaky. So we do have humidity, and even out in the desert, they're having awful humidity right now with 97-degree heat.
That's almost unheard of, because you're in
exactly.
So that must be global warming, right? That's not happening.
Yeah, it's all climate change, and it really is happening.
everyone feel good about the fact that, dogs disagree with each other if they live in the same house sometimes, not just on a walk, but when they live in the same house. And to Connie's point, I have a 4-year-old adolescent male, and an 11-year-old pretty bossy female who likes to play with the 4-year-old. She does. But then he steps over the line. And it's interesting to watch because he steps over the line, she corrects him, and she has to correct him really carefully, because if she goes over the line with a correction, he'll go to her and say, "That hurt. Don't do that." And she'll go, "Okay." You can see it. You can see the dynamic where he's playing with her. He gets too rough. She says to him, "No, don't do that." But then she says, "And I'm going to give you an extra nip because you're you." And then he says, "Don't do that. That's not fair." And he's a very fair dog. You can tell me not to do something, but don't hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the dynamic is huge. And I'm sure you see that between Patsy and Casey.
Casey, yes, absolutely. I was just looking to see where he was. I was hearing strange noises behind me.
Yeah, the blood gushing from the open wound.
Yeah, no. More like chewing noises. But at any rate, it is very interesting to watch the dynamics, and especially now, I'm seeing real personality changes in my dogs in COVID as well. These were very well trained, very well socialized show dogs, performance dogs, and they've been in the house for most of the year and away from their buddies, and going back out, they've been more reactive than they ever have been.
Yeah. I'm waiting for that to be part of the mix as I leave for the Irish Setter Club America National on Friday. Everyone arrives. The 300 dogs arrive. Well, 259 dogs arrive sometime between Sunday and Friday. Some come, some go. I'm sure we'll have about 100 to 200 there the whole time. So it'll be really interesting to see the dog dynamics because of the break in service, so to speak. Some of them will be coming to the National with a few shows under their belt. Others will be coming to the National with no shows under their belt. So it'll be, or a huge break, like you said, Connie, in it. So I just added another D, just so you guys know, because I'm really creating such a D. These seem to be my life. Dog dynamics are something you have to consider when you're making a MAAP plan for your dogs, because that dynamic really, it's sort of like, addressing the needs of your pet. Well, dog dynamics is key. Is it better for your dogs to go together, to be separated, to be with cats, to be without cats? Story of the night is that Miss Jane was in the apartment, and she's really missing Drew because Drew left to travel. And so it's interesting to see how she is walking around, at least Thomas is telling me this, walking around looking for Drew. And every time somebody comes to the door, she runs to see if it's him.
Mm-hmm.
So, your pets, the dynamic between you and your pets, and the dynamic between your pets, all of your pets in your home, is something to really consider. Now, for those of you new to this, because of course, all of you know we publish this, even though we meet every Wednesday at 6:30 and we love it. Some people actually listen to this recording every week. I wish they would come in person. And just to remind you of the D's, we have death, of course, which everybody makes a plan in their will. But remember, that plan is not enough, because it may take a long time to read your will, to probate your will. So you really need a plan outside your will. And all the plans I make sit outside your will. You don't need to even have a will. I'd like you to have a will, but that's a whole nother story. But you really need to have some plan outside of your will, dealing with the dynamics of your pet. Delay, disability, disaster, disease, divorce, dementia, deployment, and now dog dynamics. There's just so much. There's even more, I'm sure. I probably forgot one. There's just so much you have to plan for. I've had 2 or 3 clients this week call about the MAAP plan, and they really simply don't even think about the things that we talk about here every week. Because what do you mean? I got sick. I was taken away in the ambulance. I called Animal Care and Control and told them I would be there to pick up the dog. And they gave it to a rescue, and it was adopted, and now they'll never see the dog again. I know people think I'm kidding or I'm an alarmist, the Chicken Little, the sky is falling. But believe me, if your note isn't on the refrigerator saying, please call Sally, Connie, or Susan if something happens to me, and that's very visible, then your dog's going to Animal Care and Control. So I had a client who said, yes, but my children and my neighbor know. And I said, well, your children might be able to get your dog out of Animal Care and Control. I said, but your neighbor is not going to because they don't own the dog. I said, so without a written piece of paper saying Sally can come and take my dog out of Animal Care and Control, Sally can go there, stamp her feet. Maybe I wrote texts, which would be good, but even so are not dispositive. You really need to have a document that says, in the case of an emergency, Sally is able to come in and take my dog to the vet and come in and take my dog out of Animal Care and Control. I know all of you are really aware of this. I'll tell you the other thing I found now that I'm packing. So the shoemaker's child has no shoes. So I found my litter registrations for Junie's litter. The yellow boy has a microchip. The blue boy has a microchip. The red boy has a microchip. The purple boy has a microchip. The white girl has a microchip. Guess who doesn't have a microchip? Junie. And I think he was microchipped. However, I think I never registered it. No, I never registered it. I think I never registered it. So I'm changing addresses and I go, but of course this dog is there. And they go, no, we don't have any dog that name. So even in the best of times, me being the one who's harping all the time to make sure you change your addresses and everything, I'm doing that now because I'm moving. I'm going to the vet not only to have a health check done on Junie, but to scan him for a chip. And if he doesn't have one, he's getting one. And then I will register it. I know people may not think chips are the end all and the be all. They are not foolproof and they are not perfect. If someone finds your dog on the street and doesn't bring it to a shelter and brings it to the vet and the vet doesn't scan it, it lives with that person for the next 10 years, the chip is useless. However, if the dog is picked up by Animal Care and Control or a shelter, it will be scanned. Every shelter in Animal Care and Control will scan your dog. So you're really hedging your bets to get your dog back. But if you don't have a chip, poor Junie, or you don't register the chip, poor Junie, they can't find you. So you really need to get the chip, find the chip, put it in, and then do that extra step, which is register the chip. The shoemaker has no shoes. Your dogs are chipped, aren't they, Connie?
Absolutely. And while we're talking, and you're talking about registering a dog and so on and so forth, I don't know how we're going to get this into the D list, but maybe we can cogitate on it. This is actually a C component. I am speaking to you from my brand new, wonderful HP laptop that I had to buy because my old laptop suddenly gave up the ghost, its operating system, on May 30th. And it was, oh my God. And I was down at Best Buy the next day. But fortunately, before my old computer crashed, I had backed up everything in Google Drive and everything in Microsoft OneDrive. If you're like me and tend to live in cyberspace and hate paper, I do have paper copies of all my dogs' registration and their titles and their breeding records and everything else, but I mainly have them online. Yeah. And so the admonition to everyone is, for the sake of your dogs, back up everything in the cloud. Yeah. Because that's what, I saw my life flash in front of my eyes, and then I thought, wait a minute, everything's backed up. Yeah. So please be sure to do that. And I got to jump off because I got to get on my National Breed Club board call. God help me. But I will see you all next week, and please stay cool.
Remember, next week I will be in the Veterans Ring at the Irish Center Club American National.
That is right.
I will see all of you again on the 23rd.
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll see you on the 23rd. Give my best to the group. And
I will.
We'll wrap this up in 5 minutes. I want to check in again with Sally and with Susan, and then we will check it. We will check out. So Connie, have a great week. So guys, I'm sorry I'm harping so much on, the heat and the microchips. Susan, do you have a microchip in Maggie?
the breeder I work with recommended against it, but I have signed up for something where you have a code and it's a different program. It may not be as good though.
What is it on her collar?
Well, I haven't been able to get a collar on her, so she's not really going out.
So what's the code?
I forget the name of the company. I'll have to go looking through my papers, but it hasn't been a big issue, but I do certainly appreciate what you're saying because I had a dog that escaped from a groomer and it was like the most terrifying thing that ever happened to my dog and I'll never forget it.
Yeah. And the best way to get them back is really either Home Again or I have PetNet. There's a bunch of others. ASPCA has one. AKC has one. So you just really need to check it out. Whatever your vet has in his drawer, just take it, put it in, register them because they all get in the old days when they first started, you had to have a wand that worked with that chip. But now it's sort of like the Easy Pass. You don't need an Easy Pass. I remember in the old days with Easy Passes, I needed a certain Easy Pass to go into the city. I needed a certain Easy Pass to go upstate New York because the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority didn't speak to the New York State, Highway Authority. And you're like, so now you don't need that. So the chips are the same. You don't need to have separate readers. So yes, whatever you can get in her. And you know what? It might just take some propofol. We love propofol, and you might go to your vet and give her a little propofol. That's what Purple Rain, Prince used to use to go to sleep, which is why he went to sleep forever. Or maybe that was Michael Jackson. But if you give them a little propofol, get her collar around her neck, get her chip, you're good to go. Get her teeth cleaned, all three at one time.
Deborah, I'm just wondering if the lady I had referred to you participated last week. She was moving to a place where she couldn't bring her dog with her, and the dog was 15 years old and had to be rehomed.
Right.
And she was looking, I guess, for help, or I referred her to you. I sent her the link.
Yeah, I didn't hear from anyone with that issue. I'm sorry she didn't get me because I didn't hear from anybody either in text or Facebook or email.
Yeah, I felt terrible because nobody's going to take a 15-year-old dog with health problems. You would.
Sally is one of the best people in the universe for doing stuff like that. So there are people, and you know what? There is a great group. It's called, oh my God, Gray Muzzles, and they all work to help people. I wish you'd asked last week because I would have told you to tell her to call Gray Muzzle or to look up on the internet Gray Muzzle.
I can try to place a message out on the listserv, and I can
tell her to look up Gray Muzzle because that's all they do is help place older dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll let her know. Thank you.
And the bottom line is, everyone, as we're signing off, things happen and people have to move and they can't keep their pets. It's not because they're selfish, horrible people and, they don't love their pets. It's that life has dealt them something that is really difficult. And so let's be empathetic, let's be compassionate, let's be collaborative and try to find a great landing place. And that's why you have the MAAP plan, so that the dog has a great landing place because you've already talked to someone and said, if something happens to me, can you take this dog? Because she may be able to get the dog back in a few months or a year or so if her situation changes and the dog is still alive. But if you make these plans, then you have people who are navigating that next step. It takes time, absolutely. It takes ingenuity to find that person. I mean, Sally talks about it several times on several weekly calls on how this person couldn't do it and that person couldn't do it, and so she didn't go. However, for our dog's sake, we really need to make sure there are people in our sphere where their names and telephone numbers are available so our dogs have a place to go if something were to happen to us. The 12 Ds now, I think 11 or 12 Ds. We're getting up there. So I want to check in with you guys one more time. How are you going to spend the weekend, Sally?
Well, I think hopefully the weather will change so that we can go out and walk and it will be dry again.
Supposed to be 70 over the weekend.
Thank heavens. I was going to mention one thing, Deborah. I saw a piece on the news. There are now photographers, drone photographers, who do heat imaging, and it is to find missing animals. And then the heat would show up in the forest or wherever the animal was hiding. And they've actually gone to places like Australia to find the koalas and to get them back down again when they're hiding in the trees. So technology is always changing. And, you know, we're talking, I mean, my first dogs had tattoos in their mouth and their armpit, and now, you know, the chips. So things are always evolving, you know.
That's right.
And I've had people knock on the door with gorgeous young Irish setters. Is this your dog? I go, mine has a gray muzzle. That's not my dog.
But let me let you know where you might go to make sure it finds its home. How about you, Susan? Any last things you want to say about the weekend or what's going on?
Nothing special here. You know, just working with Maggie, trying to help her calm down a bit.
Is she a food hound, Susan?
I'm sorry?
Is she a treat hound? Does she like treats?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I saw Kathy has a blog on that, and I want to order that. She's got a recommendation. And I also wondered if maybe Maggie may have some kind of nutrient deficiency, and so giving her an organic multivitamin, and
yep,
you know,
could help. Could help. We never know why they're the way they are, and
yeah,
sometimes it is as simple as finding that organic, you know, vitamin that might make them feel better.
Too, and I do a lot of research on autism, and so I listen to a lot of information about, you know, glyphosate, which is in non-organic food. And right now she's getting farmer's dog, and that's not organic. So I just don't know. Maybe sometime we can talk about food and on the.
Well, we'll do that on the 23rd. I'll make a plan.
Okay.
I'll make a plan, because you know what? That's part of making a plan for your pet, addressing the needs of the pet. It includes food and vitamins and supplements. So Sally, you get on the wagon as well, because I know you're working with food with Athena and her skin. So until next time, this is Deborah Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, this wonderful community of the MAAP program, where we're making a plan and navigating the journey our pets take when we can't care for them. And until May 23rd, there will be no meeting. May 16th, I'll be in the Veterans Ring at the Irish Saddle Club of America. So until the 23rd, I'll miss you guys terribly. Wish me luck that I don't trip. And again, this is Deborah Hamilton. Take care.
Have a great and safe time.
Thank you. Bye, guys.